The 2015 FIA Asia Pacific Rally Championship has been a season of extremes. Along the way, there's been some flat-out driving, some unusual situations, and some things that just haven't gone to plan. In this program, we review the top 10 point scorers in a new championship category for 2015, the FIA Asia Pacific Rally Cup, powered by Wurth. Equal 10th in the final cup standings was Eugene Cronier from New Caledonia. He started his home event in a much-used Mitsubishi Evo 9, aiming to push the international drivers in their high-performing worked Skoda S2000s. For the whole event, he tracked and hounded them, ready to pounce should any of them run into trouble. He did get up into third place at one point, but Cronier eventually had to settle for fourth overall and 20 points in the Wurth Rally Cup. Equalling his performance was Australian Eli Evans, thanks to a great result in his home event, the International Rally of Queensland. Pushing to the limit and sometimes beyond, Evans had his Citroën up in third place after 2 stages. The Citroën DS3 is a fast car, but with only 2-wheel drive, not even his expertise could keep the faster 4-wheel drive cars at bay. Evans only conceded 1 place though, finishing 4th overall. In 9th place in the Cup was Genki Takeuchi from Japan, who had a one-off run in the Malaysian rally for the Cusco racing team. Takeuchi arrived into the heat and humidity of Malaysia with no international experience. After a cautious start, running only 7th on the first stage, Takeuchi gradually increased his pace through the event to bring his Group N Subaru home in 4th place. It was also in Malaysia where Chinese driver Fan Fan put in a Cup points-winning drive in one of his team's new high-powered Mitsubishi Lancers. The Wanyu rally team had brought in former APRC champion Jussi Välimäki to drive the sister car, but when the Finnish driver went out early with turbo problems, team boss Fan Fan took over the challenge. Better still, in a typical Malaysian rally, with a mixture of weather and tricky stages through the palm oil plantations, Fan Fan secured 3rd place and 23 points in the Wurth Rally Cup. Atsushi Masumura was the only non-registered driver to tackle 2 APRC events, earning 4 Wurth Rally Cup points in Australia, a country where the Japanese driver has done most of his international rallying. On his home event in Hokkaido, Japan, when the rains came on day 1, Masumura was in his element, holding off the opposition as the conditions deteriorated and finishing the leg in 2nd place.
But the weather is very, very bad and the course is very slippery. My driving is very dangerous.
When the rain finally stopped on the last day, he slipped from 2nd to 3rd overall, but that was still enough to scoop 24 Wurth points and 7th place on the final table. Indonesia's Suban Aksa has a lot of experience in international rallying, including a couple of years in the World Rally Championship. And while he only entered 2 APRC events in 2015, he scored big time in both. Driving a Group N Mitsubishi, Aksa got his campaign off to a good start with 4th place on the fast roads in the opening round.
Been missing this New Zealand roads for quite some time, and then that's why I'm really happy to be able to make it to the finish despite all of the problems that we had in the past 2 days.
The next event for Aksa was Australia, and like many, he found the unpredictable conditions at Rally Queensland a real challenge. He also battled with fuel starvation problems and then fought off the hard-charging Evans to finish in 3rd place. APRC, along with Italian co-driver Nicola Arena, celebrated with champagne. His podium finish also earning him 6th place in the Wurth Cup points. Of all the drivers entered in the 2015 APRC, New Caledonian Jean-Louis Leroux was the most experienced, having started his career over 40 years ago in a BMW 2002, and having driven a huge variety of cars since. And he added another to that list when he turned up at the first round in New Zealand with a Skoda Fabia S2000.
Yes, very exciting. It's a new car, fantastic car to drive, and this is my first rally with the car.
His debut in the car went very much to plan. Leroux finishing 5th and, more importantly, having settled into his new car in readiness for his home event in New Caledonia. Leroux is a legendary figure in the sport on the Pacific Island, and he was given a big send-off at the start ceremony in Noumea. When the event got going the following day on roller coaster roads, Leroux was in his element, taking the fight to his MRF teammates.
100, 7 right plus 100, slow crest, 7 left, 23 light.
In second place after the third stage, Leroux eventually had to give way to the younger drivers near the end of the leg. The following day he held on to finish 3rd, enjoying the podium presence in front of his home crowd. Next up for Leroux was Rally Queensland in Australia. After 2 events in the Skoda, it was time to up the pace. He had a scary moment near the end of day 1, and luckily he got away with it. He wrapped up his APRC campaign with 5th place in Australia and then made a surprise announcement.
Hopefully we'll see you again next year.
No,
No?
I'm going to retire.
So really this is your last international event?
I think so.
Yes.
I can change my mind, but you have to stop one day.
After the break, we check out the top 4 drivers. Continuing our review of the top drivers in the 2015 Asia Pacific Rally Championship, 4th in the Wurth Cup was Japanese driver Hitoshi Takayama. He launched his bid to win the Asia Cup at the Malaysian Rally, his first ever international event. Takayama's campaign didn't get off to a good start. His Group N Subaru had a major engine problem during the pre-rally shakedown. While his MN's Motorsport team worked all night to fix the engine, Takayama and co-driver Hideki Takeyabu had to start the event on foot. Thankfully, their Group N Subaru was back up and running in time for the opening test. Takayama quickly on the pace and in 4th place after the first 3 stages. An off-road excursion dropped him to a 5th place finish. But at his home event in Hokkaido, he was confident he'd do better.
Malaysia is my first time to APRC, so this is the second time, so I more push.
The rains came down in Hokkaido and it became a challenge just to stay on the road. Takayama lost valuable time on the first morning with a puncture and dropped to 11th. The rest of the 2-day event saw him fight back, posting a string of second fastest stage times to eventually haul himself back to 4th overall. And while that wasn't quite the result he'd been hoping for, it was at least a finish.
Many things happened, but I managed to carry the car to this service park. I'm very happy.
Next up for Takayama was China Rally, and as a tarmac specialist, he was looking forward to the concrete roads. However, China turned out to be another wet event, the narrow concrete roads becoming very slippery and the gravel sections turning to thick mud. But Takayama adapted quickly to the conditions, while others faltered. He brought his Subaru to the finish in second place overall. It was a great result considering this was his first international season. Better still, shortly after China Rally, he found out that he'd won the APRC's Asia Cup.
Point is good and I had a very good experience. It's very happy.
Third place in both the Wurth Cup and the Drivers' Championship might sound a reasonable achievement, but for former APRC champion Gaurav Gill, it represented major disappointment. Certainly it was a trying season. The Indian ace plagued by problems from the very outset.
Crest centre, into... What happened? I don't know. Medium crest here, brake. Something gone wrong? I don't know. What's that? Something gone wrong? Yeah. Okay, just get it out of the stage.
He suffered the acute frustration of being caught and passed by his teammate in New Zealand. But there was a glimmer of hope for Gill's championship and the Wurth Rally Cup chances when he won outright in New Caledonia. He led from stage 3, holding off a challenge from his MRF Skoda teammates on the undulating dirt roads of this picturesque Pacific island. However, his hopes were dashed at the next event in Queensland when, after leading for most of the rally, he was forced to retire not far from the finish.
Oh, no, what's that? Just stop, mate. The engine, I think. Engine? Yeah, oil pressure 0.
I have just no words, it was all going so well, and I guess a lot of bad luck just showered all upon us today.
Then, in Malaysia, starting first on the road put him at an immediate disadvantage, as long grass repeatedly blocked the Skoda's radiators, forcing him to pull over 3 times on one stage alone.
Get the belts off quickly. Yeah.
Because the oil temperature and the water temperature goes up so much that the car overheats, and we have to stop and clear the grass because the front bumper is so low and the grass is so tall in the stage.
The problem continued for the rest of the event. Gill forced to settle for second. So he arrived in Japan hungry for victory.
Yeah, we were second in the championship, so our aim is to get as many points as possible and see how close we can get to our teammate.
Unfortunately, luck was still against him. On the second stage of the event, his Skoda suffered a broken rear drive shaft.
Front wheel drive? Yeah.
With 3-wheel drive, the Skoda was totally unpredictable, and after an off-course excursion, the decision was made to retire. Gill and co-driver Glenn McNeil's title and cup chances were gone. At the next event, in China, Gill was over his disappointment and highly motivated to finish the championship on a high.
I really haven't had a good year this year, so I'm really looking forward to having a good rally.
In the mountains on stage 3, San Manuan, everything was looking good for Gill. He held a 19-second advantage and was driving with confidence, despite the clouds that made visibility difficult. But then his bad luck returned, a puncture turning his lead into a 17-second deficit to his teammate.
1 right.
On the next test, he bounced back on attack, setting a blinding pace. Once again, he was fastest on the stage split times, 11 seconds up after just 4.5 minutes. But then it all went wrong for Gill, very wrong.
Medium crash, short 3 plus left. Here we go. You all right? Yeah.
Gill was unhurt, but the next day we caught up with Glenn McNeil, his arm in a sling.
So Glenn, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm a little bit sore, but I'm fine.
With Gill already on a plane home to India, McNeil had one more task for the year, picking up their Wurth third-place prize money at the China Rally finish ceremony. After the break, it's the 2 youngest drivers who finished the season first and second. At 22 years of age, Mike Young might still be considered a junior driver, but 2015 was the New Zealanders' 4th full year in the APRC. And after winning a number of FIA titles in two-wheel drive cars, his Japanese-based Cusco Easy Racing team decided that in 2015 it was time to promote him to a Group N turbocharged four-wheel drive Subaru. Young revelled in the upgrade. He was quickly on the pace at his home event in New Zealand, battling for second with Gill right up to the last stage and the last corner, when a slight off-course excursion dropped him back to third place by just 1.9 seconds. The podium finish was still a great start to his season.
Third's an extreme bonus for us. You know, this is the first time in a four-wheel drive and still trying to learn the car. And I would have been happy with fourth, so third and get to spray some champagne is pretty awesome for us.
Skipping New Caledonia, Young's next event was the Australian round, and again he started out fast, settling into third behind the two MRF Skodas. Day 2 and Young was still holding on to third, and not even a close encounter with a bird at 180k, with feathers and other debris going in through the air intake, could put him off his goal. And when Gill's engine let go near the end of the rally, Young was there to slot into second. On to Malaysia, and right from the outset it was again looking good for Young. Second fastest at the first split on stage 1, but that was maybe too fast.
Off the brakes, off the brakes.
It was a big hit, and Young and co-driver Malcolm Reed were forced to retire. The Cusco team did an amazing job to rebuild the car and get Young back out for day 2 to score some valuable points. Next up was Cusco's home event in Japan, and after the first 2 stages, Young was again in second place, but then copped a 4-minute penalty for being late to a time control after a faulty fuse saw the car refuse to start. He made up for the penalty with a determined drive in atrocious conditions, regaining second place, winning a stage along the way and clinching more valuable points. At China Rally, the 2 extremes of road surfaces, concrete and gravel or mud, always make it a real challenge. And in 2015, rain added many more degrees of difficulty. Young was up to it though, third fastest on Friday's Super Special.
Plus 30.
Next day though, he discovered he had no power steering on the San Menuan mountain stage, one of the tightest and highest in the championship, with 40 uphill hairpins.
5 right short, this is the worst of it anyway, all right? 1 right.
Young continued to wrestle his Subaru through the afternoon stages. Then, on the final test of the day, a combination of exhaustion and heavy steering caught the Kiwi out.
6 left, don't cut. 30. Oh! You all right? Let's get it back on its wheels, eh?
The power of man!
With the help of spectators, Young and co-driver Reed soon had the car back on its wheels. There were some ominous noises coming from the car, but they made it back to the service park in time to avoid exclusion from the event. And then began a frantic 45 minutes as the Cusco crew repaired the damage and changed the power steering pump. It was a very battered and bruised Subaru that left Parc Fermé the following morning. Young battled through another 123 kilometres of muddy stages, still with no power steering, to make the finish. After one of the toughest events of their careers, there was plenty for Young and Reed to celebrate on the podium. They were winners of the FIA Production Cup and runners-up in the Championship and the Wurth Cup.
Been up 4 mountains this weekend with no power steering has been absolute killer. You know, we've tried our hardest and we've never given up after the troubles we've had this weekend, and even been on our roof at one point thinking that was it. So we're really lucky to be at the finish here.
And finally, to our 2015 overall champion and winner of the Asia Pacific Rally Cup powered by Wurth, Sweden's Pontus Tidemand. The new Skoda Works driver arrived at the first round in New Zealand very much an unknown in the Asia Pacific setting.
This will be a really good experience for me. I think I will learn really much, so I'm really happy to do this championship this year. So just do my best. It's the only thing we can do, and try to get so much experience we can. Especially looking forward to this rally. It's really nice roads, and I think it will be good training and have some good grade with the guys in the team. It's good guys, so yeah, just enjoying to be here.
Tidemand took that enthusiasm into the event, and while teammate Gaurav Gill had drive shaft problems, the Swede was uncatchable on the fast cambered roads near the northern city of Whangarei. A win on his first event in the championship was a great start. On Rally New Caledonia, though, a small mistake on the third stage saw him puncture a rear tyre. Unfortunately, Tidemand and co-driver Emil Axelsson were forced to pull over and change the tyre, resulting in a time loss, dropping them down the order. The rest of the rally saw them in fight-back mode, unable to beat teammate Gill for the win, but still getting the MRF Skoda back into second place. In the Australian round, Tidemand found the forest roads difficult to read and ran second to Gill for all of the first day. But he kept the pressure on his teammate, and on lucky stage 13 he took the lead, albeit by just 1.3 seconds. Through the rest of that morning he managed to hold on to first place, but the gap between the two Skoda drivers was still only 4 seconds. Then, after midday service, Gill retired, allowing Tidemand to cruise to victory.
Yeah, it's been a good fight. Gill is going really quick, so it's been a great event, and I enjoy to be here in Australia.
In addition to a big points lead in the championship and the Cup, Tidemand won the FIA Pacific Cup. With temperatures of 40 degrees plus, Malaysia is likened to rallying in a sauna, and Tidemand was quickly put to the test, spinning early in the first stage, then having to stop on stage 3 to remove grass from the radiators. As it often does, the event turned into an endurance test, with more stops to clear block radiators and the heat and humidity taking its toll on stamina and concentration. But Tidemand pushed on, surviving torrential rain on the final stage to win the event, 2 minutes ahead of his MRF teammate.
For me, it's been a great event, not so big problems, so we managed to come here, and also the winners. I'm really happy for this.
The forests in Japan's Rally Hokkaido presented a completely different challenge. Fast, narrow roads and a soft surface that became deeply rutted and waterlogged after torrential rain on day one. Pushing on at speed was challenging, carrying with it the risk of aquaplaning off the road. With Gill out due to a mechanical problem, Tidemand went on to win the event by a massive 12 minutes, earning himself an unassailable lead in the points, and even with a round to go, allowing him to celebrate becoming the APRC Drivers' Champion and the winner of the Wurth Cup. Axelsson took the co-driver's title, and MRF Skoda won the Manufacturers Award for 2015.
For me, it's been a good season here so far in the APRC. It's a good title to have on your CV, so really happy of this.
At the championship finale, the China Rally, Skoda flew in a brand new R5 car for Tidemand to drive. No surprises then when he took an early lead. And while his teammate initially threatened to overtake him, when Gill crashed out, Tidemand's only real challenges for the rest of the rally were the rain, the mud and the slippery concrete. Arriving back at the final service, Tidemand and Axelsson were congratulated by their Skoda team bosses. 5 wins from 6 events was an excellent result for the 24-year-old Swedish driver.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. So happy that I'm doing this APRC championship and a lot good of experience and good memories. So yeah, it's memory for life.
And that's the story of the APRC's leading drivers for 2015. The top 3 crews receiving their Wurth prize money at the final round in China. Be sure to join us when the 2016 Asia Pacific Championship gets underway in New Zealand in April.
Shot.